Just to paint a context and say, at Barloworld, as a corporate, we are very much governed by a lot of legislation, like everybody else. I think you've got your UK Bribery Act, there's Foreign Corrupt Practice Act, and there's Prevention and Combating of Corrupt Activity Act in SA, and many others. So for us, the starting point is that, at the group level, where those things are taken very seriously and are put in place. And then you get inside the organization where a very strong worldwide code of conduct is put on place and is rolled out, throughout the group. We operate in 34 countries, around the world, in Russia, where again you get exposed to different, type of corruption, in the DRC, in Angola, in Mozambique. So the context I wanted to give is that, I think most listed entities, there's an element of governance that we all look at to say, we need to put governance, structures in place, and I think we do that, but still, corruption takes, place. What keeps me up at night, as a director, at Barloworld, is even in companies like Barloworld, where those, governance structures are put in place, one gets a niggling feeling that, there is corruption that takes place with some of our employees. We employ about 25,000 people. We've got trucks going, cross-border, on regular, basis. And is then how one enforces that and get the culture in the organization. It's very easy to talk about your worldwide code of conduct and, put posters up that, we value integrity, we committed, to not being corrupt. And as an organization, 20% of our employees move on a year-to-year basis, and you start, again. To bring it to a personal, situation, because before doing the, in a role that I'm in, I ran the logistics, business. And if you are in logistics, because you've got warehouses all over the place and you're moving goods, and you come face to face with corruption on very regular basis. Just to give an example, in 2008, we made an acquisition in Dubai, which gave us a huge footprint on an African continent, because the business model was that you procure goods from the East for the African market, and then you supply in various countries. When we did the due diligence, there was an element that some of the practices of the people who were running the business that we acquired, they wouldn't pass our own standards, But then we took a view that we will go ahead with the transaction, then clean it after that. And we immediately, after the acquisition, gave a moratorium to the employees working in that business, and again, rolling out our code of conduct and the values that we live by. And within 3 months of having done that, the business that was coming into other parts of Africa, other than South Africa, shrunk by 60%. The learning there is that, yes, one can take a view which is very principled, but you need to follow it through, even where it's going to be hurting your business. Because otherwise, if you don't do that, all the governance that we're putting into place and talking about, it's not real. And when I talk to my colleagues, at our executive, I always lament by the fact that, even though we have all these policies in place, the fact that we haven't fired someone yet, who's been caught of the 25,000 people says something, you know, and I'm always kind of like saying, you know, are we really, you know, with the values that we have put forward and we believe that, you know, we uphold, is there that stringent belief that as an organization we need to do that? And to conclude, then it takes me again, if you operate in those markets, there are other people operating in that market. Okay. And when there's corruption taking place, I always say to people, there's always a corrupter and a corruptee. You know, I might take a principled decision that, you know, certain things we're not going to do, even if it means losing business, and you pull out. But someone else goes in and fills, you know, that space. So if one then talks about what needs to be done, you know, one of the things for me, I think, you know, we're not talking enough with a single voice within business itself. It's always when we talk corruption, not that corruption doesn't exist private in government, you know, but if we as business people were able to really drastically reduce people paying bribes from our own community, I think one would find that would start moving in a direction. Again, for me, the whole party political funding, we're going into elections. Billions of rands are going to be raised and spent by the political parties. Where's that money coming from? It has to come from somewhere. Therefore, maybe there has to be transparency in terms of legitimately political party needs funding. As Barloworld, we've got a policy, we don't fund any political party. And if we're to fund a political party, then we need to do it proportionately to all the parties. So I think that, again, creates an incentive on the other side to get, you know, corruption going. The other thing, petty corruption. Someone goes over the border, he gets stopped, he has to pay $100, or he gets locked up. And as a CEO, you get a telephone call. I'm at the border. They're not letting me out unless I pay. You know, what do? Do you say our values are that you don't pay? What I've done, I've then put a hierarchy, you know, of things that we value as an organization. And at the top of that hierarchy is that the safety of our employees is paramount. In that case, when I feel that one of our employees is in danger, and it's a difference between $100 and being locked up and being tortured, you do make a decision that, you know, you pay the bribe now and we'll deal with the kind of, so I don't think it's all straightforward. And Praveen, when you started, you've talked about, you know, that probably corruption existed, you know, pre-memorial, and I think 1,000 years from now, we'll still be dealing with the issue of corruption. I think the challenge is that at what level, at what kind of like quantum. I believe that in any society, even in developing countries, there's a leaky bucket. You know, is it 5% that kind of disappears? Is it 10%? Is it 50%? In some cases, it's 60%, where it ends up actually not being able to build the foundation, you know, of your economy. So I don't think that there's a, you know, one, you know, shoe fits all. It's, again, through the collaboration and where we set guidelines, and we set those guidelines collectively, I think it will take us, you know, way further to start addressing some of these issues.